April 5th, 2025, and I'm officially dependent on assisted living care. I had my first rendezvous with a specialist today and was helped a great deal. And underscored my dependency now. So, the outcome of 30 years of peer rejection and isolation was I became invalid. But I want to address with resignation I have eye difficulties even. I'm completely deaf. The general feeling that Louis Lapham and Amanda Harcourt had their finger on the pulse of the public, making me universally hated. And the root principle of it is that I was behaving like a damaged animal, just wrapping myself up in sexual relationships with girls, letting go, finding a new girl, letting go, finding a new girl, letting go. And this was manipulated. And the overlook, I won't call it oversight because they didn't do much seeing. They did a lot of peeping in tone that if you're a slave, then you deserve the master's manipulations. So you get hit with this wall, and that's what did it. I've been alone for 30 years. They castrated me. They made me out to be a laughing stock. They lied to and about me. They helped the Israelis get momentum for what they pulled in Gaza, which did very little to wisen them up about the prior. And all I can say is that the defense is perfectly clear. They knew what was going on and knew I didn't. They knew that there was a neuroplasm implanted, and they knew I didn't. They knew that it would be difficult to find out what was going on from my position. Based on what I believed about what was happening. So the total absence of information about what was going on required me to put out feelers to try to find out what was going on, because it was very serious. And they justify helping the people who did it because I exist, because it's there. And they don't care if the master-slave relationship was diabolical. They just want to pick on a slave because they're macho. But the eye and the orbital only had so much information, and that was very restricted. Now, I did find the evidence that the authors of the crime said the persona is subjected to successive degradations of the X motive. Now, you get the sandbaggers who say, well, if you're a slave, you deserve to be manipulated by the master. But you're talking about somebody who's being manipulated by an invisible agency that can't be identified. And they know, I've likened it 3 or 4 times in my testimony to the 10th victim, where the victim is allowed to try to find out who is stalking them. So far from just being a slave, being manipulated by master, and having the British laughing at them. I was actually trying to investigate. And since it was very deadly ultimatum to perform for them, as the Pope of the issue, Pope Karl, put it, Jimmy's going to perform for us. Was mandated to try to get information. They say don't try to escape. It was clearly a police society crime, authoritarian secret government operation. I was like, why can't my peers see this? We've all been sleeping around all of our lives. I'm certainly not the only one. I was indoctrinated to do it by adults who should have been arrested for what they did to me. And to make up for this horrible crime, the police and government authorities were saying, well, we'll make it up to you by giving you a haughty. So they gave me a haughty. I said, look what's going on. This is some kind of trafficking. It was new to me. I didn't understand that prostitution was real. Some people legitimize prostitution. And, the sandbaggers say, well, if you're being prostituted, you deserve it. Well, I didn't buy into that mentality. They were poisoning people. And that led to the game of chicken, the so-called honors tournament. It's idiotic not to realize that a crime was committed. To buy into the escalation of exchange rationalizations from Ivy League minds. It's just very sickening.